What is the leading cause of death in construction? It may surprise you, but in this video, we're going to talk about that. And in this video, once you know the leading cause of death in construction, we can do something about it. It's so important. You'll know the main causes, you'll know the contributing factors, and you'll specifically know what we can do about it ourselves. And I'll give you some references for some tools that you can use to help me fix it, all of us fix it, tomorrow. And so if you're into that, if you're into making a difference in this industry, then stay with us on this video. You know what I really like about construction? And sometimes I lose people with this, but stay with me. Construction is a whole lot more like war than we think, right? If you think about it, in war, you're fighting for a cause. We do the same thing in construction. In war, we're protecting the innocent. Those wonderful women and men in the services are protecting the innocent. Guess what? We get to do the same thing in construction. In war, you get to work with a band of brothers or sisters, a team, and really form a cohesive unit. Guess what? We get to do that same thing in construction. The passion, the drive, the difficulty, the experience, the excitement of construction is so awesome. And the only thing we're fighting against in construction is waste, disrespect, and variation. We don't have to kill anyone. It is a wonderful industry. This industry also has some contributing factors that lead to the leading cause of death. And so I'm going to tell you right now, what is it? And let me ask you a question. If 1,000 people die in 2023, or 4, whenever you're watching this video, or 5, if 1,000 people in the U.S. in construction die by electrocution, caught between falls, confined space, accidents, electrocution, if 1,000 people die, how many people die from mental illness or specifically death by suicide? How many people? Just take a guess. If you guessed 5 times or gave me the number 5,000, that is the number of people that will die by suicide in construction in a year in the U.S. And so this is tragic. And this is not a dig at all. You go to a construction project, I bet you they're going to have a toolbox talk on safety. They're going to have a safety stand down. They're going to have a lot of training in fall protection week. They're going to have their safety manual. They're going to have their site safety rules. They're going to have their zero tolerance rules. And yet, only 1,000 people will die, which is way too many, in construction in 2023. But 5,000 people, and that's not extended, that's not our friends and neighbors, that's us. That's people in construction. Us. 5,000 of us will die by suicide in the year 2023. It is the leading cause of death that I know of. And so one thing I'd like to say, the concepts that we talk about on the Elevate Construction podcast, on our YouTube channels, and specifically this channel, are specifically designed to improve the environment for the women and men in this industry so that we don't have this problem. And so I would invite you, please like so that we can share this content far and wide. Please subscribe so that you can stay with us, and please join us in doing what we can all together to prevent an environment that would cause or add to the contributing factors of such hard numbers to understand. That's my invitation to you. And let me just say a couple things here real quick. I am not advocating any kind of social stance, any kind of political stance. I'm telling you, I say death by suicide because there is evidence that suggests that when somebody dies by suicide, that there are contributing factors that may lean in the direction of that person not being in a balanced and well thought state of mind, meaning that I'm not sure that it's entirely the person's fault, not sure that hormonally and from a biochemical standpoint that these people that fall victim to this horrible tragedy in all cases can prevent this. And so when we say the word commit, that is a much different story than death by. The contributing factors, when compounded, meaning all of the things that a person experiences, can put somebody into such a hopeless scenario. And when they start to feel like it's hopeless and that other people would be better off without them, then that's when death by suicide looks like a viable option. And so death by suicide, understanding that these people can be or are victims, is a very important perspective to come from when we talk about this. So let's talk about this in depth further. Let me give you some specific numbers. Per the 2021 National Veteran Suicide Prevention Report, the suicide rate for veterans was 31.6 per 100,000. The adjusted suicide rate for the same year in the U.S. was 16.8 per 100,000. Everyone would agree that the numbers for the U.S. As a national average and veterans specifically are way too high, and that it is a tragedy. It's hard to comprehend. Let me give you another statistic. The Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, has stated that the construction suicide rate is 53.2 per 100,000. It's even higher than that of veterans. Regardless of how you feel about the comparison to the construction industry and veterans, whom I respect and love and appreciate, and again I would say thank you for your service, regardless of how you feel about the comparison, we would have to admit that both of these numbers are staggering. It is an absolute tragedy, and it's heartbreaking. And so let me tell you specifically some of the leading causes. In some specific studies about the contributing factors that lead to death by suicide, it was listed that some of the specific causes range from working overtime, shift work, working out of state or away from home, meaning mobile or more transient workforces or leaders, meaning when you have to work away from home, when construction workers are disrespected in harsh conditions, which leads to the abuse and sometimes damage of their body, which then leads to opioid addictions, which then leads to marital problems, which then leads to divorce, which then leads to child custody battles, which then leads to financial difficulties, which then leads, in addition to the myriad of other things that can happen in our industry because of failed systems and failed planning and a lack of respect for workers. Once those things compound, you can have one or two of those things and probably make it through. But once you have the compounding effect of having 5 or 6 of those, it starts to seem hopeless, and you start to feel like people, your spouse or your kids, would be better off without you. And that's when people start to consider death by suicide as a viable option. And so you're probably wondering, wow, Jason, this is not the hype video that I'm used to. Wow, this is not a happy video. Well, what can we do about it? Let's talk about that right now. Number one, we must fix, as we've talked about in another video, the respect in construction. It must become a norm to have healthy schedules, respectful environments, clean bathrooms, great lunch areas, and respectful, safe, clean, and remarkable environments for our workers. It has to happen today. The second thing that we can do is really adopt scheduling systems like TACT planning, Last Planner, and Scrum in our industry, which would prevent trade burdened and trade stacked schedules from ever happening in the first place. We would prevent environments and schedules that created environments and situations where workers had to be in bad conditions, where workers had to be stacked or burdened, where workers had to work too much overtime, where there was too much out of town or away from home work, where there was less chance for injury, where all of these contributing factors would be reduced because we have a respectful and flowable schedule. We as an industry must immediately begin to focus on taking care of our resources, respecting our trades, and making sure that we have flow for those trades, those crews, and their workers immediately. Not only will that help the workers boots on the ground, but the project teams that, in addition to our workers, need to get home on time and really be in a stable and fun project instead of a crash landing at a minimum the last 4 months of the project. And lastly, I would say we need to begin having really good in-depth conversations about mental health in our industry. And in fact, I would like your comments. I would like, how do you feel about this subject? What questions do you have? What information or what uncertainty do you have about this? What resources would be helpful? In the description below, we're going to leave you with some resources that you can use to start having these discussions in your own company. People stop feeling like it's hopeless And people stop feeling like others would be better off without them when we talk about it. There isn't anything you're going to do to make the situation worse if you talk about death by suicide. You're not going to hurt anyone if you ask them if they've thought about it. You're not going to hurt anyone if you're taking steps to educate people about it, especially if you're taking steps to improve the situation in the first place on our construction projects. So my last recommendation is we must bring it out in the open and have these conversations. We must, as companies, start to talk about them in our programs, in our HR departments, with our people. And we have to make this a normal form of discussion, and we have to turn the tide and make sure that we can start creating and designing project experiences, construction projects that do not run into the ground and hurt and marginalize people. We need to focus just as much on how we build a project as when we're done building and billing for that project. And so if we really want to make a difference in the number one leading cause of death in construction, we will start to build projects the right way. We will start to respect people. We will start to combat and counteract the contributing factors for death by suicide, and we will start talking about this a lot more. I hope you're a little bit surprised. I hope you're a little bit shocked, and I hope you're passionate and dedicated like me to do something about it so that we can really just provide the experience that our remarkable women and men need in this industry to stay healthy and to really live a remarkable life. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please check out the resources below, and let's please do something together tomorrow. A couple of those resources are the 988 hotline, the suicide hotline, which you can call at any time. These hotlines allow you to talk confidentially with counselors, to get more information, to be exposed to more resources. There are programs, trainings. There's probably an employee assistance program in your company today. There's probably church assistance programs. There are so many places you can go for help. You don't have to suffer alone. So I will link you to these resources, but I do want to link you, or at least tell you about the 988 hotline that you can call at any time if you or a loved one have a concern about this, or even if you're worried about it and want more information. It's totally confidential, it's a safe environment, and you deserve it. I want to say one last thing. It's not hopeless, and no one's better off without you. So let's get this fixed. Let's get it fixed together. On we go.